What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show recap with Mo, where we getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of all the Queens men, all right? But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shiznit that's going down right here, okay? So the episode that we're getting ready to talk about is All the Queens Men, Season 3, Episode number 5, titled Lost and Found, all right? So the synopsis for this episode states that Imp confronts Big D after an act of blatant disrespect. Madam and Blue catch a break in the investigation of her missing money. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. All right, so literally we start this off with a bang where we see Madam and Tommy and of course Trouble getting into some more trouble and some more trouble. All right, so in the previous episode, Trouble was talking about she wants to be down, she wants to be on the main stage, and Madam is like, okay, well, you can get on the stage, but if you want to get on the stage, I need you to do something for me. Of course, Trouble is like gun ho, she's ready to go, and of course, Trouble is like, okay, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do. So anyhow, they end up in the basement, and we all know, if you've been watching this show for 2 seconds, you know how Madam gets down. So anything that goes down in the basement, she doesn't want anybody to see unless you're supposed to be down there. So anyhow, they go down there. Casanova is chained to a chair. Well, I don't even know if he's chained to a chair. He's tied up or whatnot to a chair. And when Trouble gets down there, Madam is like, okay, so you never cared for this? All right, so go ahead and put one into him, right in the head, right? So anyhow, Trouble is like, she's having trouble. She's having trouble right now, putting one in this brother right here, because he's a cop. Now, Trouble, you've hit a police car, sideswiping it in a high-speed chase. You want to steal, you want to rob, you want to take drugs, you want to do all of these things, but when it comes down to this specific crime right here, you can't do it. So Madam is like, okay, you talking about you want to be down? Well, this is how you prove that you want to be down with me. Like, all the people that's on this stage, they willing to spill blood for Madam. And unfortunately for Trouble, she ain't there yet. So Madam lets her know real quick, like, oh, you can't do it? You can't do it? Old girl is like, look, I can't do it. He's a cop, and she's like, look, this is what we do. So unfortunately for Trouble, she's in a little bit of trouble right now because she cannot get the job accomplished. So Madam is going to have to put her in her place real quick. And she lets her know, as she's telling her ass to get up and leave, exit the room. She says, look, when I tell you you're not ready for this, that's exactly what I mean. So you need to trust me when I say that. I was like, damn, like for real? Like... So anyhow, going on from there, Madam then takes the gun from Trouble, and then she busts about 2 or 3 in the air. So I was like, damn, did she pop him like that? But obviously it didn't go down like that, because later on we see Casanova still breathing and whatnot. So obviously she didn't put those into him, right? So anyhow, going on from there, Casanova tells Madam that, hey, look, if I don't come up out of here, they're going to come in with guns blazing. She was like, oh, really? Well, I love a thrill. And I honestly believe that Madam is that crazy that she is willing to risk the lives of the customers upstairs, herself, the people that work for it, even the guards that she got on payroll. Like, at this point, there's no limit to what Madam will not do to prove a point. All right, so, and the reason why I can say that is because when she mentioned this right here, when she stated that killing makes me wet, I was like, shit, like, hold on, wait. She said killing people makes her wet. I was like, dang. So anyhow, Casanova over here talking about at least allow me to write a note or a letter to my child. And she was like, I know you didn't think that softened the blow, right? Like, I'm crazy. I'm a psychopath. Like, that only made it better. But she did state to him, and I do believe her when she stated this, she said that children are off limits. Not grown children, but young kids, all right? Make sure you understand that. So anyhow, going on from there, we head back to higher ground where we see one of the cashiers or one of the waitresses handing a stack of bills to Blue. So if you recall, Blue was supposed to be on the lookout for, that the stash that was coming in that was stolen from Madam herself. So she has Blue on the lookout to see where the money is coming from. So anyhow, when the cashier comes over or the waitress comes over, she drops the money off to Blue. Blue is like, hold on, wait a minute, point her out to me. So anyhow, she points out old girl that we saw at the gym talking to Midnight or whatnot. So she came through. She was looking for a good night. She had already paid her investment to go into the VIP. So, of course, Blue has to go over to check old girl out. So, anyhow, when Blue goes over, she was like, hey, what you do? Like, you knew I haven't really seen you around here. And old girl is like, shit, don't worry about what I do, all right? What you need to do is worry about VIP. And I'm putting my money into it. And Blue is like, okay, so you're a baller. She was like, yeah, something like that. So anyhow, she tells old girl that I'm going to bring you your change back or whatnot. And she was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. You go ahead and keep it because you look like you need it. So, of course, Blue is like, for real? Oh, okay. So she already knows where this money came from. And old girl is talking crazy to Blue. So Blue is like, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on this. You know what I'm saying? So anyhow, going on from there, we see Trouble wandering or meandering around the club or whatnot. She looked like she owns something at this point. Maybe what she just saw down below was a little bit too much for her and it was a tipping point for her. I don't know. We'll see, as the show continues to go on. But anyhow, she's walking around the club when Blue sees her. And she was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm good. And she was like, well, get your ass back up on that stage and make that money. So anyhow, Madam comes out and she sees her as well. And she was like, you good? She was like, yeah, I'm okay. So anyhow, Madam pretty much tells her, go ahead and do what you need to do. So anyhow, Madam tells Blue what went down with Trouble downstairs. And she was like, see, I told you she wasn't ready. And she was like, exactly. So anyhow, moving on from there, we see Lil D. I know his name is Big D, but I feel some type of way about calling a grown-ass man Big D. But anyhow, Lil D comes up into the main dressing room talking about, hey, did y'all hear those shots or whatnot? Everybody, and I mean literally everybody in the damn room said, what shots you talking about? Like, did you hear one? Did you hear some? And everybody's like, no, I ain't hear nothing. So if we didn't hear it, brother, you ain't heard shit. All right? I just need you to understand that. He was like, oh, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems at all. I'm just saying, I thought I heard some shots. So anyhow, they was like, well, you believe what you want to believe. So anyhow, while he's in the midst of talking, Amp walks in. So they get in this whole heated confrontation or whatnot, going back and forth. All of this is because of Dime. And, Lil D feels like, he's winning right now. Amp is like, look, you ain't really worth it, bro. So he doesn't understand Lil D, and I'm talking about Little D at this point. He doesn't understand that he's being used right now. She ain't involved with him, like she ain't all up in the air right now like he is about her. Now I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't really know what his intentions are. Does he just want to hit it and leave it alone? It's a challenge for him. A lot of guys out there are like that. So maybe this might be a test for him to see what he can get because she's been pushing him off. Honestly, that's what I'm leaning towards because I don't honestly believe that he's really into her like that. I mean, he may be, but I know definitely Amp has already said multiple times, hey, you do what you need to do, all right? But at the same time, you ain't on my level, bro. And I don't think he want that type of smoke from Amp. Definitely the way that Amp has been for the last few episodes. Like, this dude has been on one. Everybody's like he's on something. Obviously, he is on something. I'm not sure. But anyhow, he needs to leave the drugs and the booze alone because he ain't the one. And like Frago was trying to assist him, trying to, calm the whole situation down. He jumps on him, and eventually he dissolves it or whatnot. But at the same time, everybody's like, what's going on with this? You see what I'm saying? Because obviously he ain't been himself since he had that situation go down with Diamond. And I know that's ultimately what has caused him to go down this downward spiral. But at the same time, Imp, you need to get this together. All right. So anyhow, look at me censoring myself. I'm doing better, y'all. So anyhow, going on from there, Blue comes in. Yeah, Blue comes in and she tells Midnight that he has a visitor over in VIP. He was like, damn, who is it? Blue is like, look, I ain't no messenger for y'all at club eating. Like, y'all need to go do what you need to do, all right? You got somebody in VIP, go ahead and handle that, all right? So anyhow, Amp and Dime, they get into it a little bit because Dime is over on the wall. She got the microphone in her hand. Amp wants her to go up into the booth so she can announce him properly. He was like, go ahead and get your ass up there on that booth. Do what you need to do. She was like, look, I got you from right here. Like, I really don't want to announce you. But listen, Dime, you didn't do right when you came, like when you saw the money. Let's go back and step back a little bit. Let's step back a little bit. All right, so Dime, when she found the money, she could have done a lot differently. She could have done that thing a lot differently. She could have just went to her man and asked him like where this money come from, and he could have conveyed that to her. But at the same time, she didn't do that. She just ultimately went to the bottom and thought that he was stealing from his auntie. And then for him, I can understand where he's coming from at this point, because they were getting ready to kill this. They were getting ready to get rid of him, man. So anyhow, I can see why he's frustrated about Dime, and she can't even apologize. Maybe they need a mediator. They need someone to sit in the midst of them and allow them to talk this shit out and work this thing out. And maybe at some time or another, they can work this thing out enough where they could probably rekindle what they almost had, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, we see Rayshawn. Now, Rayshawn, I don't know what to think of him. He's aloof. I mean, he's just all over the place. He's a follower. He's not a leader, obviously. He's just following the crowd, and he really doesn't know what he wants to do. He doesn't know. He wants to dance, but he ain't making it enough to be a dancer. So, I mean, he done tried to sell a little bit on the side. He was making the most money then. Maybe he needs to go back to that. I'm not sure. But one thing for sure, he doesn't know how to close his damn mouth and keep it quiet. Because now we see Rayshawn coming in, and he sees Trouble, who's obviously in some type of, she's in some type of funk right now where she doesn't want to talk to anybody. And he was like, hey, you good? Obviously, she doesn't want to talk to you, bro. And you can't read the room. Like, go ahead and leave her alone. But obviously, he keeps poking the bear. And of course, she goes off on him, of course, and walks out. Of course, they like, we don't know what's wrong with her. But anyhow, moving on from there, this talks about, hey, have you seen Casanova? No, bro, you already know that Casanova had to go to Madam's office. You put that out there loud and proud. Old boy that's with him has to tell him, hey, you need to keep your mouth closed. Go out here and get this money and keep your damn mouth closed, because you're going to end up, DEAD. And that's 100. All right, I don't know how else to say it. But if he's not careful, he's going to end up on the side of the road somewhere. And I would hate to see somebody like Rayshawn end up on the side of the road, because he ain't in it to harm anybody, man. He's just, I don't know. He's just trying to fit in. But anyhow, moving on from there, we see Tommy, who comes in to see Madam. Now, when he comes in to inform her that Miss Tandy has showed up. Now, Miss Tandy's fine ass done came in. Now, after she done did what she did with she and her husband, and with Rayshawn, and of course with Babyface, all that stuff that done gone down through the previous episodes. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to come in and have this little sidebar conversation with Madam. So, of course, Madam is like, okay, oh, really? Like, go ahead and bring her into my office. So, anyhow, before she comes in, we see Joey coming in. He was like, what's good? She was like, oh, did Tommy tell you what I needed you to know? Like, I'm ready to go. He was like, okay, we'll have everybody good to go in about 5 minutes. So she was like, okay. So when Miss Tandy comes in, she, of course, dismisses Tommy and Joey, right? So Tandy conveys to her, like, I just wanted you to know that my husband is running for mayor, and I want to talk about working out a deal with you if you will support my husband and his, within his campaign and whatnot, And of course, if you could get your clients to actually buy into my husband as well, that would be, even more beneficial. But what she also states is that she wants something from Madam as well. So of course Madam is all ears, and she was like, any of the dealings that we had with any of the dancers here, certain dancers in particular, we want all that stuff to stay under the wraps. All right, we don't want nobody to know about that. All right, we want to keep that behind closed doors because we don't want to mess up the campaign. So of course Madam doesn't say anything to her. She's over there smoking her cigarette and looking at her, without a blink of an eye. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna allow you to have some time to, think about this situation, and we'll get back to you. She was like, please let me know what your decision is, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, as Tandy is leaving the building, she sees Babyface, and of course she had to come up on Ray Sean, where she tells him face to face that we miss you. Now hold on, chick, like all the stuff you done did, like for real. Of course, Ray Sean couldn't stand the heat. He had to get up out of there real quick and in a hurry, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, we see Midnight and Old Girl. And they doing what they doing. And they doing it well until Old Girl passes out. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? So that's what she wanted. She wanted to be masked up, and she wanted to pass the hell out. All right. Now, I don't know what that is. I ain't never tried no shit like that. I'm going to be quite honest with y'all. I ain't never had no chick tell me she want to be masked up and pass out. All right. And that's something new. I would be a lot of damn nervous if somebody told me that. All right. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm freaky, but I ain't that damn freaky. All right. So I'm just saying. So anyhow, while Midnight is finishing the job, Old Girl done passed out. Madam and Blue walks in. Madam is like, what the hell is going on in here? He was like, I'm sorry, Madam, I'm sorry. She was like, I know you ain't doing this shit in my club. He was like, I'm sorry. That's what she wanted. So anyhow, Madam sends Blue over to wake her ass up, throws some water up on her. Midnight is like, hold on, wait a minute, that's my tipper, that's my client or whatnot, because you messing up you messing up this man's dollar signs, right? So anyhow, she was like, okay, what's good? Old Girl wakes up. She was like, oh, that's the best experience ever. I'm like, what the hell? You done passed the hell out. You talking about that's the best experience? Maybe y'all can leave a comment down below. Maybe y'all like that too. I don't know. But anyhow, going on from there, Madam tells Old Girl, well, she doesn't tell her. She asks her a question like, where did you get your money from? Where did you get your money? And Old Girl was like, shit, I ain't got to tell you nothing. So anyhow, she looks at Midnight. She looks at Blue. She was like, oh, Old Girl didn't hear me. So she was like, look, Midnight, you need to tell your girl, like, this ain't what it's going to be. Old Girl looks at Midnight like, I ain't got to tell her shit. But Midnight is like, yes, you do. So anyhow, Madam says, okay, Midnight, good night. And we'll talk about it later. So anyhow, Midnight is like, shit, like, I'm going to miss this right here because he's missing out on this thrill, as he stated. Like, anybody that likes that type of, I don't know what they doing in there, like, that's a thrill for Midnight, all right? And obviously it's a thrill for Old Girl. So anyhow, he gonna miss that. Of course he gonna miss that money too. But anyhow, Madam is like, okay, I'm gonna give you one more chance because you just don't know, all right? Where did you get your money from? Old Girl is like, I got this money from my brother. And she was like, oh, really? When did you get this money? She was like, oh, last night. I got it at my mama's house. She was like, oh, so I'm going to have to pay your mama a visit at her crib. She was like, for real? She was like, yeah. And she was like, well, who's your brother? So she goes on to say his name, Billy Harvey or something like that. And Madam was like, you mean Bill? She was like, yeah, that's what we call him. She was like, I know you lying now. She was like, what you mean? She was like, Bill is dead. D-E-A-D. Dead. She was like, no, he isn't. She was like, yes, he is. All right. She just don't know what she know, what she thinks she know. So anyhow, going on from there, she tells Blue to bring this chick with her because they're going to head over to her mama's crib. So anyhow, going on from there, Madam comes out and she's stopped by Joey, who is approaching her, telling her to hold off. We need to just wait just a little bit. And she was like, what's going on? He tells her about a few motorcycles driving around every 15 minutes or so. So he was like, it's pretty frequent. And she was like, okay, I don't care nothing about that. I'm tired and I'm ready to go home. And you see, I got this little bit of business right here that I need to take care of. So anyhow, he was like, look, if you're going to have me do my job, I need you to trust me. She was like, look, I need you to take my ass home. That's what I want you to do. And Tommy's standing there like, listen, she Madam. She don't have to have no reason to tell you what she needs to do. He all ready to pop off. I'm trying to tell you, Tommy is ready to go home, cook some biscuits and some rolls and put some powder on some sheets and then kill somebody. That's what Tommy does, all right? For Madam, he's willing to do anything, all right? So while they're getting ready to walk towards the vehicle, the 3 motorcycles come by, and it just so happens to be Fernando's ass, who is Concierge's brother, all right? So anyhow, he shows up. He's talking directly to Madam. He was like, well, get your ass up out the Jeep. She gets out of the truck. Of course, they're trying to hinder her from doing it. Well, just one person in particular, and that's Joey. I wonder how that's going to turn out, and we'll talk about that later in the next episode, because I already know Madam is going to have some choice words for Joey because he's overstepping his boundaries right now. She might allow Tommy to get into his business a little bit, but anyhow, going on from there, Fernando goes back and forth with Madam. Madam ain't trying to hear him. He tells her, my brother is going to get you. You ain't no match for him. She was like, oh, really? But I'm a match for you. And she was like, I like that little toy you got. And she was like, is that new? He was like, yeah, that's new. She was like, you better ride off or you're going to lay down. I was like, damn. So anyhow, listen, Tommy, Blue, all these folks, and of course he had to say something to Blue. Blue is already ready to pop off. I'm surprised she didn't do anything right then. Of course, she was being true to Madam because Madam told her ass to stand down. So obviously that's what she did. But quite honestly, I know Blue and Tommy were ready to let it go right there. I already know it. So anyhow, going on from there, we head back into the club where we see everybody tipping out. And everybody has a pretty good tip or whatnot. As they tipping out, they leaving, talking to Dime, good night, good night, good night. Trouble shows up and she drops off her money. Dime is like, damn, like you short, you light tonight. And she was like, yeah, I know. Okay, it is what it is. She was like, look, you can't get on the main stage like this. She was like, yeah, I know there's some other shit you can do to get on the main stage. And she was like, okay, you got something to get off your chest, go ahead and say it. And she was like, no, I'm good. Like, Dime was like, go ahead and say what you need to say. I think at this point, Trouble knows that, she's going to have to get into a little bit of trouble just to get on that stage. So we'll see what she does. Maybe she'll turn it around and, get looking up enough to do what she needs to do. But anyhow, who knows? Who cares, right? So anyhow, we see Ray Sean. He come through with his little pocket change. And he was like, yeah, I did pretty good tonight. I did pretty good tonight. Diamond's like, keep going, baby. Keep going. She sounds like one of the old one of the old sisters at the church, to be giving a little candy out the purse or whatnot in that little Ziploc bag, to be pulling out those peppermints and those little strawberry. Damn, what are those little strawberry candies? Them things be fighting them up. Anyway, she was like, you just keep on keeping on, baby. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Lil D. Of course, Lil D had to come up and holler at Dime as usual, and she immediately is like, where's Amp? He was like, oh, that back in the dressing room, all right, acting crazy and shit. So she was like, okay. Well, he tells her that he's going to wait for her. She was like, no, I'm good. Now, he keeps persisting like, no, I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to wait at the bar, whatnot. And we'll talk about that later at the end of this video. But she was like, look, no, I'm good. And then eventually she gives in as he continues to persist and tell her, no, I'm going to wait on you, whatnot. So anyhow, going on from there, we see Amp, who is laid back in the dressing room, laid out in the dressing room. Diamond sent Tommy back to see him or whatnot to, so she can finish her job so she can go to hell home. So anyhow, Tommy goes back there and he was like, what's going on, man? You need to get up out of here so everybody can go. Of course, Amp is, feeling some type of way like, why are you messing with me? Whoop, whoop, whoop. He was like, look, y'all ain't paying me enough for all this shit. And truth be told, I don't know how much he's making, but they got him doing a whole lot of stuff. He's cooking and cleaning and doing everything in Madam's crib. Then he's coming to the club. I don't know how much this is making, but obviously he feels like he's not making enough. Maybe we need to protest and get this man a raise, all right? So anyhow, going on from there, all right, so I told y'all it was going to go down. When I say it was going to go down, I meant that shit, all right? So Doc has left the club. He heads to his crib. When he walks into his crib, guess who he sees? Detective Davis. And I was like, I knew it. You could tell her ass was turned on at the club. When he came off into that building and he was looking like he was looking at her and she was looking like she was looking at him, I said, oh, it's about to go down. And she was like, look, he was like, how the hell you get up in here? She was like, oh, that's easy. He was like, well, I got cameras around my house and shit. Like, how you get past that? She was like, oh, damn. You mean these cameras right here? So she done took the cameras off the house. So she working for this, all right? So he was like, oh, okay. So he was like, you doing all that to, just talk to me? She was like, yeah, I'm just here to see if we can, put a deal on the table, all right? I just want to talk to you a little bit. So anyhow, he was like, okay. So you come over here just to talk? She was like, yeah, come over here to talk. He was like, no, you coming over here to talk to D. And she's like, look, I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, ladies, we can always tell when you coming for something. All right, I'm going to keep it G on this channel. But we can tell when you coming. When you want something, we can always tell. Y'all can't hide it. It's that energy we give, man. Listen. He can already tell, so he whipped it out on her, and she was like, She looked to the side, she looked to the other side, wasn't nowhere to run. So she was like, okay, I might as well just dive in. So then she gonna walk off like she getting ready to leave, but she'll never touch the doorknob. I said, yeah. I said, all right, here you go. So he was like, oh, you don't want none of this PhD from the doc. So he gets up behind her, and she hesitates a little bit, and then she just fall out and go over there and do her thing. I don't know what that little outfit, that little contraption she had on. It was looking good. I was like, damn, Davis. Yeah. So anyhow, moving on from there, I told y'all, man, I knew it. So anyhow, moving on from there, we head back over to old girl's house. Now, when we head to old girl's house, we find out what her name is. Her name is Kasha, all right? So Kasha or Kasha, one of the two. Either way, her name starts with a K, so I'm going to just call her K. All right, so when K come into her crib, her mama is sitting on the couch, and she was like, look, what's going on? Kasha, like, who these people, right? So anyhow, Madam and Blue and of course, Midnight come in, and Madam was like, look, I'm here to collect, all right? Look, Madam informs her that her daughter has been down in her strip club spending lots of money that just so happens to be her money. And she was like, well, she informed me that she got it from her brother Bill. Her mom is like, okay, do you know where Bill is? Like, that's my son. Yes, he is my son. Do you know where he is? Madam conveys to her that he's dead. So, of course, her mom is like, oh, no, that's my baby. That's my baby. Oh, all this shit like that, right? And then she goes on and talks about how she's a Christian. And see. So when Madam went in talking about, hey, well, Bill took my money and your daughter has been spending my money down in my club, I decided to come over here to talk to you personally, all right? So she asked her mama, is she diabetic? Does she take insulin? She was like, no, I don't take no insulin. She tells Blue to go to the refrigerator and go get her syringe. So I was like, oh, hell no, what you about to do, Madam? So anyhow, Blue, of course, goes and do what Madam tells her to do. So while she's out doing that, she brings an older guy into the room who just so happens to be in a wheelchair, but this is chained up to the wheelchair. So Madam is like, what the hell is this? So obviously he doesn't smell too good. He done, defecated on himself, I guess, a couple of times because they ain't changed him. So they go find the address. They got mail, find out that this woman quite possibly has been taking this man's social security or whatnot. So this lady done told her that she was Christian, So the woman is like, Madam is like, okay, so you stealing from this man, you taking his money, you mistreating him and all of this shit like that. And then you got my money and you ain't telling the truth. So this woman turns around and cusses out Madam. And Madam's like, hold on, wait a minute. Did you just swear? Did you just swear like you're supposed to be a Christian? So anyhow, Blue comes in with that syringe or whatnot. So she was like, okay. The woman is like, okay. So you trying to kill me? And she was like, no, I ain't trying to kill you. I'm just trying to find out where my money is. So anyhow, she calls Midnight back in there and she was like, hey, rip this up right here. He immediately moves old girl, Kasha or Kay, out of the way and rips open the pillow or whatnot, and they find the stacks of cash right there. So the mother's like, do you know who I am? Madam is like, yeah, we just found that cash. But she's like, yeah, I know who you are. You're a dead one. And she don't say those words, all right? So anyhow, she walks up on her, sticks her dead in her chest and do what she does, man. And I said, oh, damn. Oh, damn. And that was pretty much it on that. They exit the building and that is over on that scene. So anyhow, we head back to the club where we see now that Tommy is down in the basement and he's standing right over Casanova. Now, for some damn reason, and I don't know the reason why, Little D has found his way to the basement. Now, I don't know where the bar is downstairs in the basement, but brother, you in trouble. You in trouble. I don't know what else to say, Lil D. This might be your last episode coming up because you are starting a lot of problems in the main dressing room, and now you're showing up in the basement, and now Tommy has seen you with his own two eyes, and he got a metal plate in his head, and he's going to do anything possible to protect Madam, and Madam ain't there to protect you, man. But anyhow, that's pretty much the episode, y'all. I apologize for going over a little bit, but there was a whole lot of stuff that I had to share. I enjoyed this episode, this recap or whatnot. So I hope to see y'all tomorrow night. I'm going to drop the next episode before the new one airs later on this week. Also, by the way, please like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss Shiznit that's going down. Also, remember that Zach Tima comes on August the 24th. I will have that video up and ready to go as well. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.